Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We want to welcome you back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline show. And thanks for rejoining us this week as we have a continued conversation with public safety and also with accessibility and the combined effort throughout the city and state, which is in conjunction with a lot of pedestrian safety issues that we have around the country. And we have individuals here that are doing such a great job. Florence, we have a great service here throughout the state as this show produces and talks about the National Federation of the Blind Newsline service. It's a free service, and please pay attention to those commercials, and you'll get the information on how to contact us for this free service. I mean, individuals that are blind, print challenged, those that are deaf-blind, those with certain forms of dyslexia, now can use a multitude of devices to read newspapers and magazines, things that sound so frivolous to those that have sight, but it means the world to us that we're able to have this free access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where here in Indianapolis, I can pick up a newspaper and read the Indianapolis Star or the Indiana Business Journal, or if I want to read newspapers in northern Indiana, I can, southern Indiana, or if I want to read newspaper in Florida or China or anywhere around the world, we have free access to that. So please pay attention. And Florence, you want to talk a little bit about the magazines?
Yes, Lee, I can do that. One of the magazines that a lot of people read my age is AARP magazine. It's a great magazine. It has a lot of information on what's available for seniors. And there's also magazines for people who like to cook, Best Recipes. It's a great magazine to have also. There's Indianapolis Monthly, which is also available. And in addition to Reader's Digest, oh goodness, there are so many to choose from, Lee.
Yeah, and the children with that stone soup.
They love it.
They love the stone soup. So please check out the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana. And for further information, just watch those commercials or listen to them, and that information will be there. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. And we have our special guest back from last week. We have Miss Allison Bishop from Accessibilities and Miss Kim Irwin from Health by Design. So welcome back to our show.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
And we want to continue on with our conversation from last week. And there was so much awesome information that we felt like we hoped we wouldn't leave anything out. So here we are again today. Now, on last week's show, we talked a lot about the safety issues concerning pedestrians here in Indiana, and some things that were really very important to the public.
Right.
And we talked about, as we say, barriers. And let's talk about some things that could possibly improve pedestrian safety here in Indiana.
Yes, great. So yes, as we had talked about, there are so many things, unfortunately, that are barriers to people of all ages, of all abilities, of all income levels, being able to get to the places that they want to go and need to go with transportation options. And so that's about ways that they can walk and, again, be safe walking, bike ways and having options for people who bike, transit and being able to get, again, where you want and need to go, riding transit. Certainly we have people who drive vehicles and they fit into that mix as well. And we did talk about scooters a bit as well. I think the work that we do through Health by Design is really about ensuring that people have transportation options. We, as a public health agency, promote active transportation, so walking and biking, and even riding transit as part of that. There are certainly health benefits that come with that. But again, we know that the benefits both to individuals and to community are significant beyond public health, right? And again, it's that ability of people to be able to actively participate in their own lives and the lives they want to have, right? So to be able to get to work, to be able to get to school, to be able to get to healthy food, to be able to get to medical appointments or to social events and civic opportunities. And so that again, that walkability piece is extremely important, and it's extremely important for people with disabilities and who are using mobility devices of different kinds, but it's also good for everyone. And so part of the overlap of the work that we do with accessibility and other partners is around ensuring that, again, people have options and that there's funding and policy, education and outreach that ensures that and helps to create more opportunity.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, Allison, now what's your take on that?
So it is very important for pedestrian safety, especially if you have any type of disability, because as we know, it makes it that much harder to get around in the world and be safe. And so that's always our goal through accessibility, is to make sure that you have access, that the ADA is being followed in all areas of life, and that we are hoping to promote more universal design for our communities. So that way we can have full inclusion and full equity of all people to participate. And so that was kind of our work with Health by Design, and Kim was trying to make sure that we can have our streets more pedestrian friendly, maybe having some audible signals. So if you do have visual impairments, making sure that transitions might be a little bit smoother. So if you are using a cane or a service animal, that you can just go from one side of the street to the other. Making sure that there are more crosswalks, and that way there's a better sidewalk, that it is clear that it's there, and that, that it's nice and smooth as well.
Thank you. Now, for Health by Design, I'm very impressed, and because I do know that a lot of the areas do have what do they call the walks? The curb cuts.
Yes.
Curb cuts are basically everywhere, almost everywhere where there's a sidewalk. But for a lot of the areas, they're still, I say, underdeveloped, where we still don't have sidewalks.
That's right.
And it's so important, especially now that the weather is getting warmer. So hopefully, more people will be out in the community walking, especially people that are health conscious and, are saying, okay, I need to start walking more. And for those areas that don't have curb cuts or sidewalks and things like that, now, would they contact the Mayor's Action Line, or who at all would they contact?
Certainly, I can speak to that a bit. So yes, we always recommend that people make a couple of points of contact when they see areas that need improvement or need infrastructure to be either put in or, again, improved. And so one of those is the mayor's action line and Request Indy. That's extremely important to get the issue documented within the city system and for tracking purposes. There are mayor's neighborhood advocates who cover every part of the city here in Indianapolis. And so being able to connect with that advocate, let them know via phone, email, that kind of thing, that there's an issue is really important. And then letting city county councilors and other elected officials know is also really a priority. One of the really positive things that has come out of some of the work that we've been doing with safety and other planning efforts is that we are seeing an increase in, seeing new development of sidewalks and new infrastructure being put into place. That connects to the transit expansion and the Indigo work and the bus rapid transit lines as well. There's significant investment of sidewalk infrastructure happening along with those along with that expanded transit service. And then also the city of Indianapolis has made a real commitment over the last many years, I don't know the time frame, but to be making more curb ramps, or to putting in accessible curb ramps, ensuring that the tactile surfaces are in place, and even sometimes in the absence of a sidewalk and the connectivity there, to ensure that that corner, if you will, can be accessed by everyone, regardless of if they're walking, using a cane, pushing a stroller, in another mobility device.
Okay, and now is that the same place that I would contact? Let's say if I'm crossing the street or attempting to cross the street, and what do they call the buzzer on the
countdown
pole?
signal, or
yes, the countdown.
yep.
Yes,
the pedestrian signal.
yes.
Right.
Is that the same place that I would contact as far as for trying to get those installed as well for people that are
Yes.
blind?
Yes, absolutely. So the city can speak to this better, but not all of the signals are audible. They are, though, oftentimes able to accommodate specific requests for those, particularly in areas where perhaps a person is accessing transit regularly, frequently, and that audible signal is extremely important for their safety and being able to cross. And so, certainly not all signals across the city, county are audible, and I honestly don't think that's probably realistic in the near future, but they definitely take requests for specific areas where that would be an improvement for the people who live there.
Thank you.
So you guys have combined your efforts with those with disabilities and pedestrian safety. Now, I know here in this city we're working diligently on transportation, improving the transportation system. Can you talk a little bit about your combined efforts on that transportation issue?
Sure, certainly. So we do advocacy of all types. We do individual advocacy, but we also do systemic advocacy. And so part of systemic advocacy, especially in Indianapolis, is making sure buses are accessible. So we work with Indigo directly to make sure that all of their buses are accessible, which they've assured us. Their new fleet, they're rolling out everything for the new lines. There'll be the red line, the purple line, and the blue line. The red line opens this summer at the end of August. They did promise us that every single bus in service will be 100% accessible. So there will be a lift ramp. So if you're using a wheelchair, you will be able to use the bus. There will be space on the bus to accommodate your wheelchair. If you are using any kind of mobility device, you can ask the driver to stop and assist you onto the bus, and that will be their duty to stop and let you on. And they are increasing their routes. So the red line will go directly from Broad Ripple all the way down to the U of Indy, and it will run every 10 minutes, and there will be dedicated service stations. So they're building them along Meridian and College right now, where they'll be like you just stand in the middle at that service station, and there'll be a dedicated bus lane, so you can just hop on and off the bus, and so it's supposed to be more efficient.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit more when we come back from break. We're going to take a short break. So we're going to hop from this segment and going to hop back in. So we'll be right back here shortly with more information that's very vital to public safety. Stay tuned.
just graduated college as a blind student. How can I independently find job listings?
Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
It is a fantastic service.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
Bro, this new Travis Scott song is so lit. Straight up.
Yeah, it's fire.
Yo, let me get started on all this craziness. Like he tryna die, but better switch it up quick. Let me teach a lesson. Teacher in the building. Get ready for class, cause he about to get to school. And rule number 1, look before you cross the street. Look left, right, left again before you move your feet. Rule number 2, hold up, I'm talking to you. Put everything down, you don't end up on the news. Rule number 3 is don't run. No driver is trying to hit a child. None. Rule number 4, while crossing the street, smile and wave. If not, you might end up off your feet. Remember, kids, it's lit to not get hit. Don't follow these rules and your life might end.
Welcome back to our show, and we're just going to continue on with our conversation. We were talking about the transit system, and you were speaking about the Red Line. And during our break, we had a short discussion, and what I want to know is for those people like me, what's the difference between the Red Line versus the Purple Line and the different lines that the transit system is serving our customers with?
And Kim, I'm going to let you take
Sure,
that one.
sure. So Indigo's service expansion, which was funded through the referendum that was held in the November 2016 election. So people in Marion County voted and overwhelmingly approved additional resources to go toward, again, the Indigo expansion. So there are 3 bus rapid transit lines that are part of that initial growth. One is the Red Line, and that Red Line runs from just north of Broad Ripple down through downtown to the University of Indianapolis. That's the first phase of the Red Line. It can potentially expand further beyond to the county lines and then beyond even based on future funding. The Purple Line is a line that uses the Meridian Street corridor and will also run parallel or in alignment with the Red Line, but then crosses east on 38th Street over to Post Road, I believe, and then up to the Ivy Tech campus in Lawrence. And so that Purple Line covers much of the northeast part of the county, as well as the 38th Street corridor, which I don't recall if we said in the last segment, but is one of the high crash corridors for pedestrians. So that service there and the addition of sidewalks that are that will accompany that transit is an extremely important benefit and enhancement for the for pedestrian safety. And then the blue line spans the Washington Street corridor, essentially across the county from Cumberland out to a road, which I'm not going to say for sure, High School Road, I believe.
I think you're right.
And then on the bus rapid transit service, and then we'll have a local route that connects them through the airport. So someone will be able to take the Washington Street corridor all the way to the airport. There's just a transition in service on the west side. And then with that, there is, so overall, it's about a 70% expansion in Indigo service. And so local routes, so the routes that also serve really most of the rest of the county are also seeing upgrades in many ways. And as Allison mentioned, the timing enhancements, so buses coming more frequently. There are other elements of the bus rapid transit like prioritization of signals, some areas where there will be bus only lanes that will increase that efficiency to make it even faster for people who are riding it.
Now, Ms. Bishop, individuals with disabilities trying to learn the system and learn how to navigate the system. What have you guys done to ensure that that's successful?
So Indigo offers what they call the ambassador training program, and it's totally free, and it's like 3 to 4 hours worth of training for the bus line. So if there's a certain neighborhood that you want to ride in, or if you just want to familiarize yourself with how the bus works for the whole city, you can certainly do that. You have to call and schedule it with Indigo, but they do it once a month. And it can be, any age, again, any type of ability, and they will meet you at your stop of choice and then take you on the ride. You get the bus pass, so you don't have to pay for the rides for the day. It's a whole day pass. And they'll just help you, go through it. So we have heard that people with disabilities have successfully completed the training program in the past. There are people with disabilities who are on staff with the program, and so they are mindful of those extra barriers or extra help that might be needed. Again, I've not actually done it myself, so I don't want to speak to it and say that it's the best and that absolutely nothing could go wrong. But there has been a high success rate for it. So I would encourage you, if that's something that you're interested in, or any of your viewers, to go ahead and give it a try.
Okay, now the cost for consumers, I understand that veterans ride the service for free?
Yes, veterans do get free service, and I think is it through the VA that they have to apply, or is it just through Indigo? I'm not certain of the application process. If you contact Indigo, I'm sure they'll be able to give you what the process is, and I think there is just some paperwork that the VA has to fill out and you prove that you were a veteran, but then you can have free service. They are going to increase the cost with all of these expansion and changes. They did tell us they're going to increase the cost. However, they told us that they'll have online accounts now. So instead of having to have the exact change when you get on the bus or purchase a card in advance and have it mailed to you, they're going to have online accounts. So you just get one card. It'll be like a debit card, plastic card, and you can refill it through your online account. So if you do have a disability, it's much easier for you to consistently add money to that account and then use it, and you never have to worry about having money or getting that in advance and all that pre-planning that goes into it.
I'll just jump in with another piece. Indigo, just in the last, I'm going to say month, perhaps two, instituted a new fare policy at the organizational level. I did not understand that there were increases, so we might want to check on that. But one of the things, in addition to the new system that people have as an option for paying, is that they instituted something called fare capping, which is very important for equity purposes. Mm-hmm. So essentially, many people, particularly when they might have limited day-to-day resources or cash available kind of thing, will pay, for one trip at a time. Whereas if you pay for a full day at a time, or a full week at a time, or a full month at a time, it's the price is less over time. But a lot of people can't afford to buy a monthly pass at one sitting. So this fare capping means that if I'm purchasing a one-day or a one-ride pass, and I do that multiple times, by the time I get to the expense of the week pass, then I don't have to pay anymore. Or then by the time I get to the month pass cost, and I've outlaid that in individual trip tickets, then I won't pay more. And so that is a really important aspect of the new fare policy from, again, an equity standpoint. That means that people who are using cash or have limited day-to-day resources are not being really essentially penalized for that. So that's an important step forward as well.
Now, moving forward, you say that I guess the bike lanes are the paths that they're creating here in the city. Now, how is that impacted with pedestrian safety and for those with disabilities?
Sure. Let me just speak to that for a minute. So, yes, so the work that we do with Health by Design certainly involves biking. And again, that's people who are cycling as a means of transportation or to get out and ride and have fun are certainly an important part of that sort of shared road experience that we spoke about last time. Certainly ensuring that people who are walking and people who are cycling, and again, people who maybe are doing either or, but that have a disability are all safe and have a space where they can ensure or be ensured safety is important. And so I don't think we've used the term complete streets yet, but that is a policy approach. The city does have a complete streets policy, and it is continually being implemented and implemented better. But it essentially ensures that when road work is happening, which we know there's lots of it happening, that the steps are being taken to ensure that everyone, regardless of how they travel, whether they're walking, whether they're biking, whether they're riding transit, they're driving a vehicle, that there is a space for them to be safe, to be accessible, to have access to things, and to have a connected network. Not every street has a bike lane, and not every street, unfortunately, will have a sidewalk, but we're continually working with the city from an advocacy perspective, from a partner perspective, to ensure that we are making sure that, again, regardless of age, regardless of ability, regardless of the way a person travels, that they are safe, they have access, and they can get to the places they need to go.
That's good information. So we're going to take a short pause, and we'll be back with the conclusion of our show.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
We want to thank you for joining our show today, and our guest really brought us a lot of great information. So we're going to conclude the show with Ms. Bishop from Accessibility, leaving us with, I think, a very good comment on what they're doing.
So rights are always, you need to fight for them all the time. Just because you have a disability and you have rights just like everybody else, that doesn't mean people will just give them to you. Unfortunately, you do have to fight for them, which is what we're here for. We're the advocacy. We're going to continue to fight for people. However, less than 2% of all decisions made in the world at a government level, at an organizational level, are made by people with disabilities. So we're continuously left out, and we are about 25% of the world's population, so we're the largest minority group. And so we just need to keep fighting and raising our voices. And so thank you so much for having me here and doing this show for all of your viewers so we can continuously work together and have this information broadcast.
All right, and thank you so much, both of you, for being our guests. And we've got a lot of information from you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And join us next week for a brand new show. Take care.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.